Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. Welcome to this Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. And yes, here with Eco, the wandering love mystic. And so I'm just so grateful to be here with you. And we have an amazing show. We have an amazing being, Eco. And I am just so appreciative of Eco and what he's bringing forth, that he is willing to embrace and be who he is and more, right? Who he or she, they, them, all of that. I don't know. I'm still trying to get oriented to everything in myself. So, but anyway, I love that. I love that it's disorienting too. Like you just even with that, what I just said. So I love the disorientation because it's awakening. That's what we're all about here. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to introducing him to you. And then we're going to be working on a little bit on what's going on for him and his purpose, his business, his sales. And you're going to see some of my gifts in that while he's sharing about some very interesting things about his business and what's happening for him. And listen in as though I was consulting you on your business, because there's always an intersection between what I'm talking about with a guest and with you. So I'm really looking forward to diving in. In just one moment, we're going to dive right into all of it. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. All right. So let me go ahead and share a little bit about Eco with you, and then formally say hello to him, bring him on the show. They, them, I'm not sure yet. So he's going to have to explain that. It's very disorienting, right? They, them are going to have to explain that to me. Okay, so Eco, pronounced Eco, yes. Okay, the Incredibly Caring Organism, that's what that stands for, is the wandering love mystic. The wandering love mystic uses them, they, them pronouns. Okay, now I'm mixing those up. Okay, they are the founder of Enlightened Consent Foundation, which is causing a global paradigm shift in how humanity relates to sexuality and sexual expression. The nonprofit provides kinky, polyamorous, and LGBTQ plus identified individuals with transformative experiences and supportive resources, so they get to experience being completely seen, honored, and loved, and co-create a world where everyone feels that they belong. ECO works with individuals and groups of people to discover, embrace, and communicate what is true and authentic to their soul, and what they need to have the most fulfilling love life and relationships that their heart desires. ECO believes that you can have everything that your heart desires and craves for your relationships and love life with those that consent to it. We invite you to go to enlightenedconsent.net, where you can get a free worksheet, getting to know your sexual desires, which will bring you another step closer to manifesting the love life that your heart currently desires. And there's just more and more of that is desired. I know that for sure. So anyway, so glad to have you here, Eco.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show here.
Awesome. So yeah, a little bit different on the consult to start with, because you are your work and who you are and how you walk in the world is very unique. So for again, like I said, compared to the so-called norms of the times today. So I'd love to talk a little bit about your journey of being Eco, like all of a sudden, like, hey, I'm Eco, like getting to that stage. And then we're going to talk about, what all about who you are and whatnot and where you're at, and then all the other stuff. I'd love to hear about the journey briefly. So our leaders are, our leaders, our listeners, there are leaders in the world, up and coming leaders, can learn more about you.
Sure. I'm happy to share more about my journey. I will say that in my own development of my own walk around the area of sexuality and sexual expression, That started when I was in college in 2004. And at that point, I didn't know much about dating, wanted to figure out how to attract someone to go and date. So I picked up a book called Double Your Dating by David D'Angelo. And one of the things in that book was the premise that there were people out there, including women, that you could go and approach and say, I want to date you. I would like to be sexual with you, and I don't want to be exclusive. And that there were people out there that would be okay with that. And that was my first exploration into ethical non-monogamy. Now, for myself, further along my path, I discovered that I wanted to that I actually need to have a mental and emotional connection first in order for any sexual encounter to be satisfying. So therefore, polyamory is very important to me. Polyamory literally breaks down to many loves. And because it's love-based, it may or may not have a sexual component to it. Now, along that same time, I started doing online dating and came across a woman who basically wanted to be tied up. And the short version of that is that entered into my first DS, dominant submissive relationship. And I started to discover and get more into the kink realm. Over the next 8 years or so, I got more and more into studying everything I could around these topics, and then found myself getting into the realm of actually doing relationship coaching. And as I had more and more of the experience of people starting to go and open up to me and share some of their darkest and deepest desires of their heart and their soul, being like, I've never told anyone this before, da 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 da, and so on. So that gave my foray into the coaching realm, and then I got more and more into spirituality and incorporating that part of it, where now I'm working with people to actually delve into what their heart desires and what their authentic soul self-expression of their sexuality is, helping them become congruent with being okay with what their heart wants, and also being able to come into communication skills that are able to articulate those needs and desires to others and get to experience them. About 3 years ago, I also started to embrace being queer gender fluid instead of cis male. Cis being a term meaning you identify the same way as you were assigned at birth. So, if you were assigned being male when you were born and you said, yes, I am a man, yes, I'm a male, that is what cis means. For being queer gender fluid, what that looks like to me is that I have both a strong feminine side and a strong masculine side, so I switch back and forth between either of them. Queer is a large catch-all term, which is more of like an invitation to be like, what does that mean to you? Because there are a lot of different definitions of what that means to each person who identifies that way. Around that same time, I was talking to a person at my church retreat, the Church of All Worlds, the oldest neo-pagan church in the United States, and describing to a person my vision for co-creating a world of enlightened consent, where everything consensual is honored and honoring your authentic truth, so you can have relationships that they love and thrive in. And he took a moment and said, enlightened consent, ECO. And it popped into my head, ICO. And a couple of months later, I was with a lover of mine, and she introduced me to a friend of hers, and she said, this is ECO. Their pronouns are they, them, and they spell their name ICO. And he went, ICO, Incredibly Caring Organism. And that resonated with me heart and souls, and I decided to adopt ECO as the name I was going to go by and use that as the acronym as well.
No wonder I screwed that up. It's like the first thing when we're talking about all this sex and everything, I'm thinking orgasm. So it's organism. Right?
Slight difference. I mean,
right?
yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the first one that did that, but
it's perfectly okay. So, I do deal in sex, love, and relationship, and I love helping people get in touch with what gives them their orgasms when they get off on. So it's like, and for me, the ICO is incredibly caring incredibly
You
caring
did, yeah.
organism.
I'm not the only one.
I have done it myself. You're not the only one.
Yeah, so it's so fun. Okay. Wow, that's such a fascinating story because again, I mean, yeah, it just kind of it is, that I think that's what's so interesting is like when things are mind-blowing to people, yeah, either people can awaken and go more open and explore what's being presented and see what's that all about overall and for them and everything, right? Or you can try to shut it out or deny it or fight it or whatever, right? And judge it or whatever, condemn it. So I think it's just so cool that yeah, that you listen. I'm sure there must be times when you wondered about what the heck am I doing, right? What is this? There must have been at least moments, right? Like for all of us, like whatever we're doing, we have moments of, most of us anyway. I think most people listening anyway would be that way. Like, what am I doing? Who am I? What is this? Like, so I love that you listened, and that's the spiritual rock star way, I must say, like listening.
Thank you. It's been quite a journey that I've been on going into these forays, and I'm leaning more now than ever than before for actually going into this. And I have had those times of being like, who am I to go and teach this, or what are people going to think when I go and actually speak this up? And there's been part of me that has been terrified that as I move forward, that people will twist or distort my words or hate me, villainize me, and demonize me for what is basically a message of love, unity, and connection that I'm looking to bring forward.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I have made a commitment to the divine several years ago that I'm dedicating this lifetime to bringing forth this message of enlightened consent. And part of the reason why I founded my foundation, the Enlightened Consent Foundation, earlier this year is because I've known for a long time that shifting the global paradigm is going to take far more than just me, and I'm seeking out and inviting and welcoming other sex educators, relationship coaches, and consent experts to come underneath my banner and join me for going and sharing their bits of expertise, because there is a whole lot to sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't see it that way, right? I mean, hey, you hook up, you do a little of this and that, that's sex, that's all there is to it. And I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's funny, like it's like, let me equate it to like if somebody doesn't know much about weightlifting or something, like, there you go, you lift the weights, like, yeah, there's not too much to it. You talk to an expert, they're like, oh my God, there's like 10 billion ways you can work out. Like it's so much to it, right? So it's like there, and then yeah, on the sexual level, man, that is a huge box. Huge box is maybe the wrong word, but you know what I'm talking about. Like it's a huge,
It's quite the rabbit hole, and
right, right.
part of what I love to do is being like, okay, so trying to fit into the normal cultural ways of being just monogamous to a person of the opposite gender and looking to go and get married and have children, be married to each other for the rest of your lives. Maybe that hasn't been working for you, and maybe something's felt off about that. Let me show you the buffet of all the different options that are out there and help you find what is your actual expression that works authentically for you.
Right, right, exactly, beyond all concepts, right? That's what I think is so awesome. Like, let's not just, like, what's your real, like, to me, I'm always like with everything, like, what's the real truth, right? What's the real truth here? And I love that you're doing it in this realm. So that's really wonderful.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk. Yeah, let's talk. So this is so great that, and we'll have the opportunity for people to check you out more and learn more about you. We'll get into that a little bit later, but let's talk a little bit about where you are with the business aspect. And yeah, you've been doing the relationship coaching for a number of years, it sounds like. Tell us where you are with your business and your sales and all that sort of stuff, at any level of detail you want. And then where you kind of wanting to go. You kind of talked a little bit about already. Hey, this, that was great. So with the nonprofit, where do you want to go and what challenges are you having? So wherever you want to start.
Sure. So with my own personal coaching, I have struggled for a long time, and I've had like just a few handfuls of actual paying clients going going at any particular time, usually just one paying client at a time. And I've had to find other ways to go and sustain myself during that. And now I'm at a point where I've learned other business skills to be able to put myself out there a bit more successfully. And one of the things that I'm doing right now, as I have found it to be a challenge to feel like I belong or feel like I have home, I'm currently running a 5-week course called Homeward Bound, The Incredible Inward Journey, where with that, instead of looking to the outside world for that feeling of home and belonging, I am guiding myself, so I'm right there with my students and the people who are participating in the course to actually come along with me to create that feeling of home and belonging within ourselves. And the idea with that is that by the end of the 5 weeks, we're in the second week at this point, as of October 8th. By the end of the 5 weeks, that we'll be able to feel like we're at home, regardless of where we're at in the world, and being able to feel like we belong, regardless of who is or isn't around us at that particular time.
Great, great. All right, wonderful. So we're gonna go ahead and okay, so yeah, let's take a look. So you're that's great. I mean, I love that. I love that you've been cultivating this this slowly. It's right pace for you. You know, it is what it is. It is whatever it is. It always takes a while to get great things kicked off to a huge level usually. So that's great. And you come across as being very, very smart, very like come across as a book reader to me anyway, like somebody really can get into studying, right? So I just like, yo, you're really learned man, or they or them or whatever. I don't like, I'm still disoriented, so that's a gift. But so let's talk about, yeah, let's talk about the what so are you saying then that this program then is like where you really want to center most of your focus, or where do you want to focus the most going forward?
Where I want to focus the most going forward is with what I'm setting up and begun to set up with my nonprofit, the Enlightened Consent Foundation, where I start off with myself and 3 other people to be on my board, and I've talked with them from the beginning about once things are more structurally set up in place, that I'm going to resign from the board so I can actually be hired on as the executive director and run the day-to-day operations, and being able to create different programs and help other sex educators to be able to actually run their programs and support them. And one of the ideas that I've put forth is that sex educators, relationship coaches, and consent experts partner with my nonprofit, because so many are struggling to go and earn a living at what they're actually doing. They don't really have a lot of business structures in place, and they're getting kicked off their platforms because of their sexual content. So in partnering with my nonprofit, we're able to help provide some of the business structures components, being able to give them a safe platform to talk around their actual sexual subjects and help them to go and earn money from their passion, their calling. In support of that, this coming November, on the 12th through the 14th, Enlightened Consent Foundation is doing its first summit, where we're going to be helping tantrikas, sex educators, and relationship coaches go from being afraid to put themselves out there and barely scraping by to getting to a place where they're able to confidently go and put their offerings out into the world, be able to know their full value and their worth, and magnetically attract clients who are willing and able to actually pay their full price and thank them for the privilege of paying them.
That's great. That's great. So how do you feel about that in terms of like, how do you want to go about that in terms of, do you want to build up your own clientele first to be sort of a model for that? Or are you looking at it a different way, like this structure is going to like create all the clients for everybody sort of thing, or a little bit of both, or how are you looking at that?
As a Discordian, I am kind of making this up as I go along. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the pseudo-religion of Discordianism.
Not really. No, I'm not. No.
Okay. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of religion by the goddess Eris, who's the patron goddess of Discordianism, which the idea with that is that the ideas of order and disorder are both illusions, and the greater truth behind that is just there is a chaos that goes on. And we pretend that there was order or disorder going on. In any case, what I've learned is that any kind of real big long-term plans that I seem to go and put together seem to go and fall apart midway, and things that are slipshod together near the last minute work out more beautifully and magnificently than I ever could have hoped or dreamed.
Right.
So I have been learning and focusing a lot of this year in learn how to go and hone my intuition and listen to my inner knowing and connecting to that divine guidance in what to go and do and trusting that timing. And especially within the past couple months, it's been about learning how to surrender and let go, where I've been in a lot more of a masculine push, 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 and seeing that it hasn't really gotten me anywhere, and being able to just release, go, listen, be like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to go and do next, and trusting that the money and circumstances will flow from that. And from being in that, this week alone, I've had 3 people that have actually stepped up to say that they're interested in helping doing fundraising for the Enlightened Consent Foundation. And in putting together the summit, I have at least 8 different speakers who have said yes, they want to go and speak on different topics at the summit. So that is going to come in together without me having to try to force anything. And it feels so much better than try to force to make something happen or being attached to an outcome.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to presence here on the show, because this is definitely an aspect that I talk about all the time, is this just allowing process, right? And I talk about the other aspects too. I believe in all of it. I think all of it's a good idea, but everyone's different too. And everybody's in a different place on their journey as well. So there's room for everything, there's room for everything. And at the center, there's just that's wanting to unfold, is kind of how I see it. Like there's something guiding us, something that's wanting to just unfold, right? So I love that you're trusting that. And it makes sense, right? If you're the wandering love mystic, it's not like you're making a lot of plans. So
Right. It's basically how this kind of came about is that I moved out of the place that I was living at the beginning of October. And no, actually it was at the beginning of September. So it's a little over a month at this point, September 3rd. And started traveling from place to place in my car. And part of the idea that the divine has given to me is that if I just set up going to different places to be able to teach, being able to share my message, that I'll find people that resonate with it, that want to go and have me speak there and are more than happy to provide food, shelter, and even perhaps pay me a little bit to be able to continue wandering around and spreading this message that I promised the divine that I would, and trusting in that flow that I will be taken care of in return. Which the logical part of my mind goes, how does that work? That doesn't make sense. And the center part of me, the spiritual part of me, going like, yeah, I know. Just
Yeah.
breathe and trust and go where you're guided, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is great. This is, again, like, even this process is very unique compared to what I'm normally doing with people on this show, but that's perfect. I love that, because this is a whole nother realm that you're actually living, an aspect that I do practice and teach about, is this whole allowing process where, yeah, the survival, whatever, logical mind, the base brain, whatever, all the different things we can talk about, is like, okay, how are we getting this thing done? Let's get it done. Let's do this thing, whatever it is. And then you've got that kind of driving, pushing. Yeah, some people call it the masculine, right? Let's make this thing happen. Then we've got the part that's just, yeah, the mystic, the energy of just, hey, it's just unfolding and it's happening. And whether you have, just enough money and substance to get by, or you've got incredible riches, it's like, it's a nice day. I've got a nice cool breeze on my face. Everything's good. It kind of doesn't care. That deeper aspect. So I think that that's beautiful that you're embodying. You're deepening. I mean, I know, like, sometimes the other stuff, I'm sure, wants to take over, little gremlins, but you're allowing for that. That's really great. That's really great.
Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement of that.
Mhm. So what challenges are you finding in this? Let's maybe take it that way. Like, instead of like, hey, let's how we're gonna create more sales. All right. So for you, and more so, we want to look at, in this way of being and this allowing, and you kind of, began to point to it, and I'll do a scan on it, but like, what challenges are you noticing that you're having with it? Like, what comes up, like, from the part that does freak out? There's always a part that's like, no, everything's fine. But there's another part of you that maybe is freaking out. So what are the kind of freak out parts saying to you?
Sure. So one of the things that comes up for me when you ask that is I am really great at being able to be in the visionary seat and see what's possible and see how things can go and flow and how they work together. I'm really great when it comes to actually showing up for the event or for the course or doing the one-on-one work with the clients. It's the parts that are in between in the implementation that I go and struggle with and feel like I'm mediocre at best. So like what I'm really needing and desiring right now are people who are implementers, basically, who can go and pick up the ball from me saying, here is an idea that I go and see, something that we can go and do, something we can go and create, and have them kind of run with it. I can kind of do copy and paste graphics, going putting the websites up, the landing pages for different programs and things. Social media, I don't really like and don't really do. So being able to have people that love and want to go and do that kind of promotion, I'm been okay-ish when it comes to like the enrollment process. I would really love to have people that are really good at being able to actually do the sales and perhaps on a commission basis to actually enroll people into the programs that we're actually doing. So I can remain in that visionary seat and kind of run the show, like being the MC for the 3-day summit that we're going to go and do, and be there with the people, so I can stay on those ends and let the other people who are really good at the stuff in between be
Yeah.
that. And I've yet to go and fully attract that team.
Yeah. Okay. It's on the way. So No, I can see this. Like, I can definitely see it. So I could see, like, because I've seen it already. You know, there's models for that, right? For other people who, like, I don't know, like I partly see you. You know, obviously you're a spiritual teacher. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, so you're a spiritual teacher as much as everything else, in my view. So as that spiritual teacher, you know, sometimes the spiritual teacher isn't meant to be the big salesperson, although you might want to encourage them, you know, like, hey, might want to really take this next step, right? I mean, you want to encourage them. You're great at that, I feel like you'd be, and you naturally have an enrolling energy. Like people are like, "Yeah, I'm interested. I'd like to, you know, I don't know, that you've got magnetism, right? So people are like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like, so that's good. So you've got that. People have an issue with you or you know what you stand for. Of course, you repel them; they'll run the other way or whatever, all the other stuff. So,
Mm,
but what I see is like, yeah, if you're doing talks and things like that, if you have someone who can be that grounded to the point kind of let's get this done kind of energy, they can say, hey, now you need, you know, like here you go, like this is, you know, like, hey, you need to sign up for this course and here's all the reasons why it's such a great idea and everything. They can go into the details, into the specifics and why it's important and why they want to take that step. And they can look over you and say, hey, do you have anything else to add to that? And you could say, no, or well, you know, I'd love to have you in the course, you know, like you know, like something more like that. Like, so you don't have to be the one, because for you, I do feel when I'm tuning into you, I do feel if you have to go to your aspect of trying to convince anybody, forget it. Like you will probably, you know, when you're being natural, you can be naturally enrolling. But if you try to enroll, like you're okay, I'm really going to try to get this thing done, then it doesn't work so well. So it's going to blow up for you. I get that. I feel that.
mm,
So I actually do agree with that. That's why I love like doing these scans for people, tuning into people, because everyone's different, you know, like for most people, I wouldn't say that would be true, but for you, it is. It's a huge gift because then you can, like you said, you can focus more on the visionary aspect and showing up visibly on lots of stages, though. Okay. Just because you're not big on promotion on social media or other channels in different ways doesn't mean
mm.
you shouldn't be the one like that's on like lots of different media and different channels and being interviewed like crazy. That yes, as many
Yes.
stages as possible, right? So like
Yes,
go with that.
and part of what I'm stepping into and what I've come to realize is that what actually has people come to me and being willing to say, yes, I will pay you money, is after they get to feel my energy, after they get to see me, after they get to hear my voice. So yes, it is very important in what I'm doing for me to actually be out there, to be heard, to be seen, and being on stage and being in that moment, like being here with you right now, Daniel,
Mhm.
is where part of me goes and shines and comes to life and absolutely loves and adores. I need to have that more. Where I've said that I don't like the social media part is anything that I've tried typing out in just words that have gotten basically nothing because they're just flat words.
You don't need to do it.
They don't hear me, they don't feel me, they don't see me,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it doesn't resonate, it doesn't work.
Right,
So
right,
I need other people that do that, and I get to be out there more doing things like this and being out on
right.
stages and speaking. Absolutely.
Yeah. And even when you go on a stage, you should always have people really make a nice introduction for you. You're not the one to be like, all right, you signed up for to come see me today. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. That's not the way for you to do it. You need someone to bring you on like a grand entrance. It's
Mhm.
just what works for you. It will change your energy, it'll change the whole dynamics of that. So you always want to have someone introduce you. That's why I don't even know that, hey, do a Facebook Live. And I don't really see that unless someone's interviewing you. I see it more like, and I could be wrong, but like I'm just saying that's my vibe on it. I'm like, you always want to either be interviewed or have, if you're going to talk exclusively, fine, absolutely. But like someone should introduce you and be there to take care of you. Um, while you're, sharing and doing your thing. So that's important.
The part of me loves that idea. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing is to really embrace it fully, I think, is for you, like to realize, like, hey, it's not about me. It's about the magnificence of what I'm bringing as a being, like, because again, it's that ego mind. Like, man, am I really special? Am I not special? Am I really bad? Like all that stuff's still hooked up, right? So it's like once we could just drop all that stuff and just be like, man, I'm just a magnificent presence that, like, I am that wind, I am that breeze that just wants to come in, and but I need this certain support. I need the people who are got a little more of that steel energy or whatever, like they can hold the a container for me a little bit, like being my wing, whatever, men and women, or gender fluid, whatever, who doesn't matter, they and them. But like, beings that can be there to be your wing beings, maybe that's what I should, angels, right? So that to help you to shine and take care of all the details, like, because you definitely want to have books. You need to have books. You're going to have to create books if you haven't already created some. You're a book.
I am actually a two-time Amazon internationally and best-selling co-author.
Okay.
The first book is Sexy Secrets to a Juicy Love Life. That was back in March of 2014. And then the most recent one is Ignite Love, which came out last year in July,
Mhm.
right in the middle of the pandemic. And that hit #1 in 11 different categories across 7 countries, which
Mhm.
in that book, that is 30 different stories by 30 different authors of real life love and relationship experiences.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's great. Now it's a matter of authoring your own books, but yeah, so, but it makes sense again. See, you were did it in partnership with others, right? So maybe you need to do a partnership with others to create your own book, right? Now, rather than try to figure it out on your own, because the implementation will be crap, because that's not your doing things like that on your own, just don't work out so well for you. So you do much better to team up with people to get the book, organized, put together. So someone could say, hey, we need this, we need that, like you got to do the writing, but like, you got to create the content, but like then they can be like, okay, this is how we should edit it, this is what we need to do. In your case, I would hire people to help you. You want lots of support. Yeah, you really do. We all need a lot of support, but you definitely want a lot of support. Like, you're extra. And then the nice thing is because if you're brilliant with the for profit structure, because it lends itself well to your natural way of being, is that people want to just naturally give to you. They don't necessarily always need like you do something, or you gotta pay them all the time. You will have to pay people, but
Mhm.
there's different ways for things to be funded and creative in new ways. And that's another way that you enlighten people. Like, hey, you could have 20% of the sales of the book or whatever. Like or give the team half or even up to half. Like, it doesn't, the whole team could have half of the profits. Like partner with me. I may not have a lot of cash to hire all you, but I really would love to partner with you as part of my team or whatever. Like, you come up with a team.
Mhm.
And because again, like, you can, quite frankly, you can take advantage of the fact that you are different, and for what you stand for, there's a lot of social advocates or whatever you want to call them, right? There are people that want to get behind it. So you want to utilize that. That's part of the design for you. That's what I feel anyway. So that'd be beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely welcome collaborations and donations, both in cash and in kind and volunteering. And as funds do go and flow into Enlightened Consent Foundation, part of my vision is having different physical centers where we do have paid staff throughout the country, the United States, and into Canada, and throughout other parts of the world as well. So people will be able to actually come to different events, and I'm creating this idea of the Enlightened Consent Village, where regardless of how you identify or what your background is, that you'll be welcome, honored, and celebrated just as you are.
That's wonderful. Because that means if you're so-called cis male or whatever the terms are, right? Like you're whatever you are, that you can be a part of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because in our three main subsects, there is the LGBTQ plus,
Right.
there is the kinky and BDSM realm, and then there's the ethically non-monogamous and polyamorous. And each of those three subsects are very different animals from one another. They each have their own viewpoints. There are plenty of heterosexual people and cis people that are in the BDSM realm, as well as within ethical non-monogamy as well.
Mhm.
And so as these different centers begin to develop, one of the things that I imagined is we'll probably have a center that's specifically for the LGBTQ plus, another center that's specifically for the kinky and BDSM people, another center for the polyamory and ethical non-monogamy group. Then we'll have other centers right there in the middle, like I am high in the Venn diagram of three, that everyone who, regardless of how you identify, you're welcome and embraced, and you can intermingle to the extent that you want and desire.
Yeah, nice, nice. So yeah, I mean, getting into that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think that could be huge. That could be huge. So one of the things that I would, you want a strong, you want a strong publicist to get you everywhere, basically. Like that's what's coming up for me. Like, you definitely want to find yourself somebody that can just get you everywhere, like get you on radio, TV, podcast, everything, all of it, rather than you having to create all that. So you definitely want to get a publicist. So, because the more the more and more connections you make, like coming on this show, this was brilliant. This was better than doing a straight up interview, I feel, for you, because people may hear this and reach out to you. People may reach out. They might say, "Hey, I want to be part of this thing," right? So you never know. And I'm putting a call out there even right now, like, hey, if you guys want to be a part of this or support this work, reach out. We'll tell you how to do that.
Mhm.
So there's many more things we could get into, and this is a little different kind of show because we're kind of mixing some interviewing a little bit with doing some of my intuitive scanning I do. Often I go through and I'll scan the chakras and everything. Like today,
Mm.
I just kind of feel like we're not going to go too much into that, but I feel like I just feel like you want to not be afraid to be visible. Like that's what shows up in the power center. Like you don't want to be afraid to be visible. You want to realize, like, I am desired by many people, and and to just, like, whatever you can do to just realize, to reconceptualize maybe like your fears and doubts. Yeah, like for example, like what's your biggest fear is become, you mentioned it earlier, but let's get back into that for a moment. We'll do this and then we'll start wrapping up. So what is your number one fear of becoming like real visible with your work?
What comes up for me is that the actual number one fear is that I will put this work out there and no one will respond to it.
Yeah, yeah,
And with what I've tried to do in the past, it literally drove me broke and ended me up homeless and living out of my car. And
yeah,
this is part of the transition, being really vulnerable at this point
yeah,
of stepping into this wandering love mystic and going from place to place. Because in losing my last home, it took a few weeks for me to actually accept and allow myself to be like, okay, I am actually homeless. Yes, I'm actually living out of my car. How do I go and make this work? And how does this fit into the surrendering that I've been beginning to practice and embody? And you know, the goddess kind of shoving me along my path, being like, okay, you said you want to be a world traveler and make this world difference, and I've given you this idea of being this wandering love mystic, and you're going to be put along about that whether you like it or not. And here I am, and I'm learning how to surrender, and I've been traveling around Washington State, and for the past week I've been up in the Vancouver, British Columbia area, up in Canada, and being like, I'm finding that as I've been in this flow, that I've actually had more people go and come in who want to actually like join my program, and people
Right.
want to go and support my business, and being like, okay, this isn't making logical sense to me, but okay, I'm going with it. And once again, trusting in surrender, being like, okay, where's next? And
Right.
next is tomorrow I'm going to be headed down to Redmond, Washington for an event down there. And later in October I'm going to be going and meeting a person that I'm going to be bringing them down to the San Francisco Bay Area in late October, and we'll see where things go from that point. I don't know. I'm making this up. I'm trusting my intuition, my divine connection, and looking to be in that flow. And yes, there are parts of me, like the logical parts, going, "What the f are we doing? This doesn't
Right.
make sense." Da 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 da. And the at the core, at the soul level, it's being like, breathe,
Yeah.
surrender, just follow, and it's all okay.
That's true. That's true. That's true. You've been provided for. You've had shelter one way or another. You've had food to eat. You've had everything you need, and you're really dropping into a whole nother level of connection with the divine. Like a whole nother level is dropping in, and the more you continue to flow the way you are now, the more the part that doubts and worries will just start to release. It'll start releasing its grip on your psyche, and then you'll just be able to be an embodiment of your message. You'll be able to say, really just trust in what feels right for you. It does work. I can tell you, like, in so many ways I've learned that, in all different ways now. Yeah, so it's beautiful. It'll all be part of your message as you're walking this path. So I would change it for a second for you. So anyway, we're getting to we've been going a little longer, I think, than usual. I'm enjoying working with you today and sharing about you, having you share about yourself. So yeah, let's talk about like where people can learn more about you. Um, yeah, so where can people learn more about you? I know you have I think if we mentioned, might even mention, did we mention it? No, we didn't mention it. Yeah, you got a free gift for people. What do you want to tell them about it?
Sure. As one of the things that I mentioned that I do is helping people go and get clear on what it is that they actually want and desire at this point in their love life. And it doesn't matter if you're currently partnered or not. This can be a really good worksheet and exercise to go through to see, where am I at right now? And this can be something being like, this is what I want or need right now in the relationship that I'm in, or if you're not with someone, of like, this is what I'm actually looking for and would like to go and have in my next relationship. And so the name of the worksheet is Getting to Know Your Sexual Desires, and it takes you through some separate step by step of some different facets of what you could be looking for or what you're wanting, help you go and get the clarity of what is next for you. So you can find that the link will be associated with a podcast here. You can also go to my personal coaching website, enlightenedconsent.net. And right near the beginning of the page, you'll see where you can click on the link to go and get that worksheet as well. For those of you who want to know more about my nonprofit, that is enlightenedconsent.org. And you can also reach out to me by email, enlightenedconsent@gmail.com.
Okay, great. You hit it all. Net, org, com, all of them. Cool. All right, great. So check that out, everybody. Hey, like it's always good to continue to explore ourselves at every single level, so we don't miss anything, right? We don't miss out, so to speak, right, on anything that's there. Everything connects to everything. So how perfect is it to understand more about yourself on every level, including your sexual desires? So with all that being said, I just grateful that you're on. If people want to check me out, by the way, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. I do Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scans, where it's a little bit like this. It's a little bit, if you see some of my other energy scan shows where I've more got into chakras and stuff, like every show is a little different, I suppose. But yeah, with those scans that I do, I actually will go through all your energy and whatnot, and we get strategic like we did here a little bit today too. So you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com and fill out the application there for a Rock Your Sacred Purpose assessment. And there's also the opportunity to get my Meditate, Make Money meditation, like I always tell you about, to align yourself to the divine, so you can surrender, allow the pulse of energy of abundance and freedom and everything you're looking for to come through your guidance and your energy through that meditation. So it's at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So as we're wrapping up, Eco, do you have any last words for everybody listening in today?
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And to you who is listening, thank you so much for actually taking the time to go through and learn about me and part of the journey. And I invite you to come see more about me. Come be a part of my journey. And I invite you to consider becoming part of the Enlightened Consent Village and finding and creating the love life that you love and thrive in. Because you are welcome and you are wanted and you are desired just as you are by us within our community. And we welcome you with open arms.
Nice. All right. Awesome. Okay. I'm so glad to have had you on, and thank you for all our listeners tuning in. Like I always say, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.